I thought about making a video for my kids in the future. But then I'm like, I have no idea what I would say. But I think I need to say that. Like, I think I need to let them know that I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why things happen the way they did. I'm very confused. I'm very alone. I don't have anybody on my team. But it's been that way since they were born. And I was really afraid for a really long time. There were things I was afraid about from the beginning. But I told myself, like, wasn't a big deal. Like, it would be okay. Everybody has issues. Like, partners have issues. And I was like, well, I'm gonna still be loyal. I'm still gonna do different things. Like, I'm still gonna, like, be myself. I'm still gonna be supportive and nice and loving and everything. Does that tow truck think I'm needing a tow? I'm not. Anyway. I'm so distracted because I don't know what to do. I don't understand my situation. I don't understand Cody and his motives. I don't understand what's going on. And I don't understand how people can, like, listen to my story and, like, not. Well, first of all, if they hear it from me, nobody's asked me. But if they hear it from someone else, like, how can they not ask me? Because the things I've heard, mostly read, the things that I've read that Cody has signed his name to, how is anyone taking that at face value? Don't people have questions? Don't people look at that and be like, wow, that is absolutely insane, and think maybe it's not true? Can anyone, like, look at how extravagant of a perfectly situated narrative of insanity and whatever else, and think maybe he's not telling the truth? Maybe she is isolated? Maybe he is controlling? Maybe he is threatening? Maybe he did tell her he would do what he's doing for a really long time? Does nobody think to ask him? If, for example, I don't even want to have to justify everything. Like, I don't want to go through everything he has said and prove it wrong. People would like me to do that. People say, well, explain this. Back when I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on, and I was trying to, like, get information, I'm like, how am I gonna even figure out what's happening? I couldn't even understand, like, I couldn't understand the sequence of events of his behavior after he did a no contact order, and I was just like, what? And to get information after that, I was just like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to get information if I'm not allowed to talk to the person who's the only person I've talked to since 2013. In 2013, I was traveling South America by myself. I got back in February of 2014, and I went to visit my family in Idaho, and I had a mutual friend who said, oh, you should meet my friend Cody. And so he's the first person I met. And I went on a date with him, and I was like, oh, he's nice. And then I dated him, and then I married him. But before that, I lived in Arizona. I hadn't lived in Idaho since I graduated high school in 2004. So for 10 years, I went to college, and then I went on a mission to Chile, and then back to college, and then I went to Arizona, and then back to Utah, and then back to Arizona, and then to South America. And all my stuff was in Arizona. But when I decided I was going to date Cody, I left that job in Arizona, and I moved my stuff to Idaho, and I worked on my teaching certificate. Because in Arizona I did international marketing, Spanish and Portuguese. And so when I moved to Idaho, they don't have that. And so I got my teaching certificate to teach high school English, and I got pregnant with Capri right after we got married in October of 2014. I mean, no. She was born in October 2015 is what I meant. We got married in October 2014, and I had her a year later. And I taught school for that first year, and then school got out for the summer in May 2016, and I lost my twins May 3rd, 2016. So I missed the last few weeks of school. I tried to go back, but I cried a lot at my desk. And so they said they'd get a sub for the last few weeks of school. And then we moved to Washington in July. We said goodbye to our foster kids because we were doing foster care at that time. So right before we moved to Washington, I had Capri as a baby, and then I had another baby who was 4 months older than Capri. We got that baby when Capri was 4 months old. The other foster baby was 8 months old. And then her brother was 6 and her sister was 8. Then I lost the twins. And I stopped teaching and we moved to Washington. And that was the last that was the last adult interaction I had. That was it. That was it. I never had a friend. I never went back to work because I had babies, and my teaching salary I couldn't take my teaching job to Washington because we moved out of state. I would have had to study and do it again or whatever. But I didn't have a job. I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have a social network. I didn't have a friend. I tried to make friends, but I didn't do a good job. And I had a lot of babies. And a phobia of daycare. I didn't want to put my kids in daycare. I didn't want someone else to raise them so I could go make $15 an hour and pay $15 an hour for probably daycare for babies. And then later when I was ready to go back to school and I was ready to fix my self-esteem and I was ready to do things for me, not just for my husband and kids, when I thought that they were old enough and I had 2 of them in school, I tried to figure out what I wanted. what I could do for myself, what would make me happy. And I was afraid. Of him. And my counselor helped me every week to like keep my confidence that I could be autonomous, be independent, and that it was fine to have my own opinions and to stick up for myself and to figure out and rediscover what would make me happy, because I had no idea. And I reached out to everyone I could. It did not work. The other day I was thinking, like, how frustrated I am and how frustrated I've been for a really long time that nobody helped me. When I was out there being like, help, SOS, I need help. Someone come help me. Like, I need help. Like, I just wanted to get attention so someone would like come and be like, dude, what's up? What do you need help with? And I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know who to talk to. And I begged for help for quite some time. In any way I could, when I hate attention. I hate being loud. I hate like getting the focus put on me, but I tried, because the quiet things I did, like I called a lot of women's shelters, and they said, well, do you have enough money for food? And I said, yeah. Well, do you need any cleaning supplies? I'm like, no, I've got plenty of money. Well, does he hit you? No. You don't have any bruises? No. And they'd be like, well, our housing services are more for women who are escaping battery. And if you need food in the future, let us know. And here's another resource. Here's another phone number. And I tried. I called as many as I could. I told my story every time, like just sobbing, like I don't know how to get out of this situation, and I am very trapped. And the things he says, he told me if I was going to divorce him, that he would spend every dollar I had saved from selling off our Washington house. We made $210,000. That's the profit that we made. And then I paid off the rest of our Idaho house. It was like $70,000 left. So I had like $150,000. And then did some remodeling on the house, and I had $100,000 saved. And that was not enough to get away. I haven't spent any of that. But it is gone. And I don't even want to, like, I've never wanted to speak bad of Cody. I thought he had a psychological problem. I thought he had split personalities, but really I think he just has a lying problem. I really thought it was psychological, though. I was like, I think if he can get help, like, if he could, I love the one personality, but the other personality I don't like. It turns out that was the one that everyone else, like, that was the story everyone else heard. It's the stuff he would tell me from the bad personality. Like, I thought that one would go away, but the truth is that the one that I thought was nice was the pretend one. I was so worried for him. I was trying to help him for so long. Since 2017, I tried to help him. every decision I made was to try to help him because I thought he needed help. And I think he did at the beginning, but then I think he wasn't gonna do it. And then it turned into like something else. I don't know. But I never changed. I never stopped trying to help him. I never tried, like... I never stopped trying to help him. Everything I did was to try to help him. I wanted to keep him alive. I tried to, like, be quiet so that he wouldn't be stressed. So he wouldn't, like... He wouldn't get overwhelmed because he has a really bad anxiety. I didn't want him to kill himself. Everything I did was out of fear and not wanting to lose everything that I had worked up to, and I'd lost it anyway. He's still alive. That's good. But he tortured me psychologically and mentally for over a year. He would yell at me for hours. I would hide under a blanket on my bed. He would say the things he knew I was afraid of. And he would just yell for hours and 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 hours, and I would just sit there and think about other things, and I would daydream. And I would create a different reality. Because I didn't know what to do. I'd already reached out to everyone I knew. And I lost, like, every time I would talk to friends or, like, people that I had met recently, they would be like, you need to divorce him. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't think I can. I don't think that's an option. And then the friends would stop talking to me. I only did that a couple times, but it was just like, it would suck. There was no out. There was no one that could help him, and he was so dishonest to everyone. And the only person he, like, treated the way he treats me is me. He doesn't, like, I think he bullies people at work too, but I think he passes that off as just, like, dude stuff. I don't know. But they don't live with him anyway. That's just people he works with. I was tortured. I have been in misery for a really, really, really long time. I have been unhappy for a really, really, really long time. I have been worried and afraid of him for a really long time. And I have been completely alone since 2016 when we moved to Washington. He's scary. He's not safe emotionally. I don't know if he's safe himself. I don't know if he's safe for himself. I'm still afraid he's gonna kill himself or me or my kids. I don't trust it. I don't trust his brain. I don't trust his dishonesty. I don't trust the way he hides things until he explodes. I don't trust the way that he blames me for everything. when I'm just like, I'm unhappy, I would like to go do something for myself, and he'll say, but you don't let me do anything. I'm like, well, you have a job. I don't have 2 seconds alone. I don't have a community. I don't have any adult interaction. I had 3 teenage babysitters. One in Washington when Zoe was born. She was a teenager, I think she was 15. The next babysitter I had was in Idaho Falls. She was also like 14 or 15. And she watched all 3 when Max was born in like 2019, 2020. Then we moved to Pocatello in 2021. And I had another teenage babysitter. She didn't get home from school till like 4:30. So it wasn't much time, but she could help me sometimes after school. Maybe once a week. Those were the 3 people I had to watch my kids. And I had no friends. And no family. And I had nowhere to go. No way to get away. I didn't trust him. He wasn't safe. I love my kids, but I needed a little bit more than just baby talk. I needed a little bit of adult interaction, and Cody would get really angry if I would wake him up to talk, because it would take me a while to, like, after the kids went to bed and after I could have some quiet time, and then I would want to talk to him about, like, stuff, and he'd get really mad. So I would hold it in, and then I would eventually just be like, I am miserable. I am miserable. I'm absolutely miserable. I'm so miserable. And he would tell me it was my fault. And that I chose it. And there was no out that would work for me. I wasn't going to put them in daycare. And when I wanted to go to school, he said no. How does that work? I don't want to alarm my standard of living. I asked to go to yoga teacher training in January of 2023. The end of January. And he said no because he travels too much and he couldn't commit to being home for the 1 weekend a month. And I said, but it's a Saturday, Sunday. If you have to travel, can't you just make sure that you don't travel till Sunday night? And he said, oh, we'll see. Then he told me there is no us a few days later. It's either him and the kids or me and the kids. And he wanted me to leave. And I said, no. But then he started saying things that scared me again. Like he knows how. And he kept telling me to just leave the kids and go. And I said, no. And then he scared me more, and he did it for days and 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 days. And I was not okay, because I knew that if I like backed down and if I just like did what he wanted me to do and like went back into my shell, I knew he would be happy and I knew I would be miserable. And so I didn't back down. I said no. And I knew my life was gonna go really poorly because I knew I was really afraid of that scenario happening. And I knew I had asked everyone I could and there was no other answer. And I begged for help. I said, please help me, please. On YouTube, in my poems, I had no other answer. I called every resource I could think of. I talked to every person I knew, which is not many. I begged his mom for help multiple times. I went to his dad. And he told me, "You're crazy. Go check yourself into a mental hospital." And I was like, "That's not the problem, sir. The problem is your son. I need help. Please help me." He said, "No." It's painful. It hurts. Like, it hurts my body and hurts my brain to even relive those conversations and be like, how could you see that I was not okay? And then I begged for help. Especially from his parents, because they're the only ones that I knew I could tell, because he didn't want me to tell everyone about 2017. He didn't want me to tell them about the past. And I was so loyal, and I just wanted to help him, and I just said okay. And I tried to be quiet. I tried to do what I could, but he just was never happy. He was so miserable. And I was too, but I was like, I tried to just focus on the kids. I could not get out. I had no escape. And I just begged his parents, please get him help. Please get him some counseling. I'm like, please get him some medication. Please help him to be nice. Please help him to not yell. They just kept smiling. He's like, he's fine. He won't do anything. I'm like, yes, he will. Yes, he will. He will either kill himself or he will ruin my life. Like, I need help. And they just laughed and they just said, no, he won't do anything. And I just waited, and I just tried to do what I could. I tried to invent a new world for my kids. I tried to invent stories where it was okay. I didn't talk bad about him. I didn't do anything. I just tried to invent a way that I could survive. When I was terrified of him. I was terrified of him losing his mind. And I was afraid of the person I lived with, and he told me I was a dependent and that I'd never have a job and that I wouldn't survive without him, but he was dedicated to doing the right thing, and I was basically a charity case. I knew I would be okay without him, and that's why when I did ask him to leave, and I said, just go work on yourself for a while, last summer, because I was terrified. I was just like, I'm fine without you, go. And I was like, go hunting, go fishing, go live at the cabin, go work on yourself, go travel, go whatever, fishing, I don't, whatever, go find yourself, and then get happy. And he would say no, because he blamed me for his unhappiness. And I was like, Cody, I'm okay. I just don't want to be yelled at anymore. And he was out of the house from May or June. Well, I left in the end of May with the kids. I went to DC to just kind of reset and get my independence back after the catastrophe of last May with my mom and Cody and my sister and his sister and his mom. And there were a lot of things I didn't understand, because I didn't know what I didn't know about him and what he was saying and doing that I didn't know. That I do know now. Ugh. But I went to DC. I got a little independence back. I came back. But I was so happy without him. But I thought I could do both. I thought I could get happy enough that I told him, I was like, I'll do all the housework. I don't have to do any. Go work on yourself, whatever. I took away all expectations, and I just focused on making myself happy and not getting yelled at. And then he moved out shortly after that, because he just wasn't happy and he wouldn't stop yelling. And I was just like, I need you to go if you're not going to stop. Just go work on yourself. And he did. He left, but he was also very pissed. But life without him at home was so easy. It was so easy. And the kids didn't really notice, because I would just tell him he's at work. And he wouldn't get home until bedtime anyway. So they'd, if he didn't make it for bedtime, it wasn't that much different. It was he'd get home at 6 and they'd go to bed at 7. But if I'd be like, oh, he's at work, they got used to oh yeah, he's at work for a few days. He works for 4 days in a row. And so they just kind of assumed that's where he was. We didn't talk about it. And over time, I'd be like, can you come see the kids? And he'd be like, I can't, you're too abusive. And I was like, you need to come see the kids. And he just wouldn't come, he wouldn't participate, and then he was making threats, and then when I would get happy and calm, then he would tell me that he was going to divorce me because there was no point, and he was going to take everything, and he was going to make sure that I had no money and that I couldn't afford a lawyer. And then after he spent all the money and made sure that I couldn't get a lawyer, he was going to quit his job so that I would never have any income, and then I'd have to put Max in daycare. I didn't want to do that. And I was afraid. Again, a lot of afraid a lot of times. Very afraid, very for a long time. And I thought I could fix it, and I just thought, like, I will figure this out. I will get it. I will do it. It will work. But it did not work. And the number of stories I had to invent, and the number of times I had to vacate my brain because he yelled and consistently put me into fight or flight, which for me, there is no fight, there is only flight. He said he would never accept what I said about him because he would hate himself if it were true. And I was like, you don't have to hate yourself. Just let me create the life I want now. It's not your fault. I need an identity outside of raising these children. I need friends. I need a purpose. I need something to give me fulfillment. I need to be like, well, you chose to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, kinda. I got pregnant on accident on birth control. And then a lot of bad things happened in a row. Ugh. I didn't really make a lot of those choices, actually. They were made, and I allowed them, and I accepted them, but it wasn't really my choice. It was not like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. It was, I want to wait 2 years to have kids, and then I was pregnant within a couple months. That was not what I wanted, but I accepted it, and I love my kids. He wrote some things and signed his name to some statements that absolutely blow my mind and bewilder me. I love my children. I only love my children. I loved him platonically. After 2017, I still wanted what was best for him. I was still afraid for him. I was afraid for myself too, but I didn't want to be responsible for his death, his suicide. I tried to help him, and I tried to get help for him, and I was unable to succeed in that. But what I did was motivated out of love. Even moving back to Idaho was to get him his support network. I hate Idaho. Sorry. I don't fit in Idaho. The last group of friends I made said they didn't want to they didn't want worldly influences. And that meant me. And they specifically brought up coffee and swearing. It has been so painful. Just trying to squeeze myself into this mold that is not for me. Trying to keep him safe and alive and doing what I thought was best for everyone except me. And then in the end, when I chose to do something for myself, I knew it was not going to go well. But I did not expect this. I did not think he would go this direction. I don't understand it. I don't know. Like, the problem is that for so many years, since 2017, I thought it was psychological for him, that I didn't blame him for those things. I was like, oh, well, that's just the other personality. Part of me is like, well, still, it could be that. I don't know. But now I also have to consider, like, it could be not psychological. It could be just the dishonesty thing, that he chooses lying instead of painful truth, I guess. I don't know. Shame. He has a lot of shame. He has a lot of anxiety. I don't have shame. I have fear. I have PTSD. I have trauma. I have dissociation. That's not new. None of that's new. And that's not a reason to treat someone the way he's treating me. It seems, it appears. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I can't even ask him because I have a no contact order. And I'm trying to stay alive. By myself in complete isolation. It's really hard. It's really hard not to kill myself. Well, it's actually hard to kill yourself. I don't actually know how to do that. I'm in more pain than I've ever been in, but the pain related to him that's been constant is gone. So it's a different kind of, much more painful pain. This is the most excruciating pain I have ever felt, being separated from my children and having no information about what he's saying or doing. I don't understand it. Does not make sense. Some things do now that I have some puzzle pieces that I didn't understand before about him and what he was doing for the last year and a half, but it's still not concrete, and I still am very confused. And I am devastated, and I am alone. I don't have a family. Like I said, I don't have friends. We didn't go on dates. He didn't like me. He was not attracted to me. He would tell me, if I'd be like, oh, this guy at the gym tried to hit on me, and he's like, oh yeah, wouldn't comment. And I'd be like, it's so weird that like I get compliments from strangers. And he's like, well, you know you're hot. And I'd be like, well, I didn't know that actually until I started getting compliments from strangers after I lost 60 pounds. And he'd be like, well, I wouldn't. He's like, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to get even cockier. Because he would always say I was too full of myself. But like, he didn't think I was attractive. He'd never spontaneously complimented me. He never, like, he was not attracted to me. There were no compliments. Not that I need compliments. I'm not a compliment-oriented person, but like, you know if someone likes you. And in the beginning, before we were married, it was presented as he was trying to not sin because he was still in the church and I was leaving. And I was very respectful of that. And I didn't push anything. I didn't cross any boundaries. But that, what I thought was his restraint, I think was just, he was not attracted to me. And it never changed. He doesn't like my personality. He doesn't like my body, my appearance. He doesn't like what I say. He doesn't like my opinions. He doesn't like what I do. He doesn't like how I act. He doesn't like how I express my feelings. He doesn't like how I criticize or complain about anything. He does not like me. And for a while, well, for a few years, this is when I gained all my weight after Max, I wore gray because he said he liked how I looked in gray. And I wore the same sunglasses as him because he said he liked them. They were hideous, but I was like, well, he likes them. I would wear these glasses like, oh, I look like a lesbian. I really did think I looked like like a little butch, but he liked him, so I would do that. And I tried to be quiet and calm because he wanted quiet and calm. And I tried, but like, I literally shut off every portion of myself trying to be that way. And then I realized June 2020, I was like, he still doesn't like me, and I'm very overweight, and I am very miserable, and I hate gray. and I did Stitch Fix. And I bought extra large clothes and size 14 pants. Could have been 12s, but I think it was either 12 or 14 at first. And they were expensive clothes. And I had money, because we had money by then. And I joined the gym. And I got into yoga. I took my kids to the daycare. Max was he was like a year and a half old. And I felt like I could leave him with the daycare. And he liked those people, and the girls liked him too. They liked the Gold's Gym daycare people. And I took them for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night. We were there 4 hours a day for like a year and a half. Could have been even, let's see, June 2020 until September 2021. So not quite a year and a half, like a little over a year. I lost 60 pounds. I had friends at the gym, like staff workers. This was in Idaho Falls. I was friends with the yoga teachers. My kids were happy. I was happy. Like, I accomplished the first big thing for myself. Like, it was wonderful. I spent $100 a month at that gym, and that was big for me. And then I bought those expensive clothes from Stitch Fix in size extra large, and then they slowly started not fitting, and I was like, I just bought these don't fit. And then now I'm in a size 4 pants and a size small shirt. In April 2023. It's almost been 3 years. But that was when I found myself, and now I wear magenta, fuchsia probably. Now my hair is long. I don't have makeup on. Well, I have a little bit of mascara, but I do wear makeup now. Again. I slowly rebuilt my life from June 2020. But that's also, I stopped going to his family's house in Blackfoot in April 2020. And that, it was both good and a mistake. It was a mistake because I was isolated from even them, and before then I had contact with them. And that, as I tried to go find myself and I tried to let him take the kids so that I could have a break on Sundays, it kind of looked like I was isolating myself from them, but that wasn't my intent. My intent was to get some time away from kids. That was a problem in the end, because they apparently believe things about me that are not true. That sucks. So I'm like, oh, that was a mistake, but also it's like I didn't have any baby or kid free time. I don't know. Plus they aren't nice to me anyway, so it's not, I don't know. But I'm like, well, maybe they would have been nice if I'd kept going. Well, they wouldn't have been nice, but at least maybe they wouldn't have backstabbed me. I don't know. His grandma was nice. I liked her, but she died. That was the only person I really connected with. That's okay. Doesn't matter. But point is, I don't think I could have built my life these last almost 3 years in a way that he would have let me. Kind of sucks to say that. I don't think he would have allowed anything that I wanted to do. I think that he would have had a problem with it, because he has a problem with it now. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know his thoughts on it. I don't understand. But like, when I look back at the things I did, like June 2020, I turned my life around, and I pulled myself out of a depression that had lasted for quite some time. I had him in a safe place in Idaho. Like I said, we moved here in like February 2019. So by June 2020, like, I felt like he was safe. Max was a year and a half old. I joined the gym. I lost weight. I spent money at the gym. I spent money on Stitch Fix clothes. Like, I felt so like accomplished, but like content with like my progress. But I did have to, like, I want to say isolate, but like be independent. Like, I had to like worry about myself and like go work on me so I could be happy. But then like isolated from his family, and then he and I grew farther apart. The happier I got, the more he thought I was selfish. And the happier I got, the more my expectations for future happiness grew. Whereas before that, I would put up with a lot of like, I was like, I sacrificed everything for everyone. It is hot in here. This air conditioning is definitely broken. I gotta fix this car. Ooh, it's hot. Oh, it's 90 in the back, that's why. So I'm having hot air coming from the back. Cody. That would be why. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I wonder it's so hot in here. I should roll my windows down. The same temperature there. Anyway, the thing that's hardest in all of this, 46 minutes, I only have 13 left. The hardest thing is number one, being separated from my children, not knowing if I'm ever going to see them again, and not knowing, first of all, I hope I survive and do not kill myself. That's my goal, is to stay alive. But then I'm like, I'm not making it till 18. If he blocks me and I don't get to see them, I'm not going to try to live until they're teenagers. No way. But anyway, but the other thing is, I'm like, how do I explain this to them someday? If I am alive, or if I'm not alive, I guess they'll have this video. I think I just did explain it, though. I think I've explained the best I could. Like, at all times, I followed my conscience. And even when it required me to, I don't know if it is even be selfish, but when I decided to focus on myself and join that gym and buy those clothes when I did not spend money on myself. I spent money on my kids at that point. They had lots of Playmobil toys and like lots of fun activities. I had them in lots of extracurriculars and stuff. I spent all my money on my kids. I didn't spend it on myself. I didn't think I was worth it, and I felt like I wasn't really a contributing member of society. I did not have very good self-esteem, and I always felt worried about my money situation. But if I look at just myself from the day I joined the gym and I went to yoga and I put them in daycare twice a day while I worked on myself and listened to audiobooks and had a continuous train of thought without being interrupted by, kids. And I got a break, and I lost weight and we went to Hawaii, and then later I started doing more things. Like, I was more confident. I was more sure I was doing a good job with my kids. They turned out really cool, and I was proud of myself. I was like, you know what? Even if I don't make money, even if I am afraid of a lot of things, I have really cool kids. And they're really good at communicating. They're really good at being empathetic. They love nature and the planet and conservation. They love people. They're helpful and kind. They don't cry. They don't whine. They do kind of fight with each other, but not with other kids. They're nice. I did a damn good job raising my kids. And even though Cody has a problem with how I did it, in the end, he has a problem with my relationship with him. I couldn't have a relationship with him that was authentic until I learned how to be authentic with myself. And the way that I did that, he did not like. But I had to get to the point that I was happy in my own self. And I did that. I am happy with myself. I'm damn happy. If I had my kids, I would be euphoric pretty much. I would be so happy. And he does say things like, Casey has a bipolar mania. It's not true. I don't. I do love living. I do have PTSD and dissociation. That's not mania. But I am typically really happy. I have a sad part of my life, which is my marriage and feeling trapped. But I'm not trapped now. The only thing that's trapped now is that he's stolen my children, and my money, and my resources, and my name, and my dignity, and the truth. Lots of things. But I like myself. I feel devastated for my kids. I feel sad for Cody, but I'm more like, you might be the bad guy. It might not be psychological. You might be bad. So, like, I feel, like, pity for him, and I feel bad for him. I don't feel worried for him anymore. I hope he doesn't kill himself. I hope he can manage his feelings and his temper and his yelling and his two personalities and his honesty, dishonesty. I hope he can do those things. And I think he's gay. I hope he could admit that someday, or find happiness, or maybe he will just be more compatible with someone else. I don't know. But those things are not my issues anymore. I'm not going to hold that burden. I'm happy. Like, I never would have left. I never would have left him. I was going to hang on till the bitter end. I don't leave people. I don't abandon people. And my form of love might not have been what he needed or wanted, but I loved him the best I could until the very end. I even told him I loved him, like, that week. I told him I loved him. I was like, I love you, and I will be here no matter what. I will be myself, and I will be authentic. But even me finding myself is showing love to you, because I want to be me. And if I'm healthy and happy by myself, I will be a better wife and an even better mom, even though I was a very good mom. I wanted my kids to see me happy, not just scared and resentful. And I accomplished that, but he did not like how I accomplished it. But it doesn't matter anymore how he likes it or doesn't like it. If I can stay alive, and if I can get my kids back, I can do anything. And I know that. Like, the only missing piece is my kids. He can do his own self now. I tried to help him for quite some time. It's not my role anymore. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. Even now, I'm just like, in a few years, oh God, I'll be supportive. I'll set him up on some date. Like, that, I automatically go to, like, rescue mode. I work on that. I have a counselor because I like to talk about psychology, but I want to save people and help them and rescue everyone. Like, I always wished I could be rescued when I was a kid, and then now, the last year and a half, I wished somebody would rescue me. I was like, maybe a lawyer will just, like, randomly come be like, hey, how can I help you? Like, I would daydream even that. Like, maybe, like, someone will just feel inspired and come help me. They did not. That's apparently not real life, but I was very trapped. And brains can be funny, what they will do to not acknowledge what's happening. My ability to avoid things is very strong, and that leads to dissociation, just because if something's too hard, I can just, put it away, don't think about it. Then if it gets too strong, then I can just dissociate completely. It's not like I choose that either. It's not like any child would choose to learn how to dissociate. You just learn it because you have no choice. And as an adult, if things happen, I can trigger that too. I don't hold myself, like, shameful for PTSD and dissociation. Like, I don't think that's a shameful thing. I think mental health is just like physical health. Like if someone gets a cold or flu or cancer or diabetes or whatever, it's just something to live with. I think a lot of people treat mental health like it is a cancer. Like, oh, depression, cancer, you're gonna die from that. Oh, you have schizophrenia? Oh, you're dangerous. You might give me tuberculosis. But it's not true. And mental health, to me, is not shameful. I was never going to leave Cody. I thought he had two personalities, and I was never going to leave him. I was going to get him help. I didn't know how. I did not succeed. He might not even have that issue. It might just be he wanted to lie or create something where he could have a life he wanted that did not include me. I don't know. I don't know his motives. I don't know what happened. But either way, mental health was not his mental health was not shameful to me. My mental health is not shameful to me. I volunteer with a lot of homeless people with significant mental health challenges and challenges from drugs. And I don't have shame towards them either. I don't hold them guilty or have bad feelings for any of those things either. I think mental health is wonderful. I think psychology is wonderful. I love it. I love learning about people. Like, I love my dude in Waikiki with the chain around his waist, ranting and talking about surfing, and he's got lots of voices. I like to talk to him. I don't think he's gonna stab me. I don't think he's gonna inject me with drugs. Like, I get that people are afraid of like their impulses, but I just want to know more about him. I know he was in some branch of the military. He could have PTSD just like me. People might not want me to have PTSD. They might not want him to have PTSD. Cody surely does not like that I have dissociation, and I surely did not like that he yelled, provoking me to dissociate, but neither does that veteran. He doesn't like to have PTSD, I'm sure. He doesn't want to have schizophrenia or whatever he has, multiple personality disorder. But integrating those parts of ourselves, or like his come out as different voices and different personas. My main thing is dissociation, where I'll be like, I'm not dealing with this, run! Vacate my brain and my body, goodbye. Not very safe. But luckily that's only happened twice in adulthood, and both within the last year, and that's because of the circumstance I was in while I was actively asking for help. Get me away from that circumstance and it's not a problem. But unfortunately, Cody was unwilling to let that be. He wanted me to apologize for what happened in May, and I was like, I think you're involved, actually. He was like, how dare you? And then there's enough supporting evidence that he was involved. And that's devastating. It's still confusing, it's still devastating, it's still too much and overwhelming. I don't know a lot of the things. I don't know a lot of the answers. I have a lot of questions, but I'm not going to ask